Hi, and welcome to another episode of 5 Minutes with Mark. We're starting chapter 5 today, and we're going to go from verse 1 to verse 13. They came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gerasenes. And when he had stepped out of the boat, immediately a man out of the tombs with an unclean spirit met him. This is Jesus. He lived among the tombs, and no one could restrain him anymore, even with a chain. For he'd often been restrained with shackles and chains. But the chains he wrenched apart, and the shackles he broke into pieces. And no one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always howling and bruising himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and bowed down before him. And he shouted at the top of his voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." For he had said to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" He replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." He begged him earnestly not to send him out of the country. Now there on the hillside a great herd of swine was feeding. And the unclean spirits begged him, "Send us into the swine, let us enter them." So Jesus gave them permission. And the unclean spirits came out and entered the swine. And the herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea and were drowned in the sea. So we've got Jesus moving back and forth across the Sea of Galilee. And he steps out of the boat, and immediately, one of the other words for Mark that we see a lot, he's met by a man with an unclean spirit. And this man ran out of the tombs. So one of the things that's going on here is that's something that's very unclean in the eyes of the Jewish people. The tombs were considered unclean. And also, Gerasenes was considered unclean because it was Gentile territory. And so you've got a man coming from an unclean place coming out of the tombs that are unclean, and you're going to have unclean swine. So, in many respects, this is a place Jesus, as a good Jew, should not be. And this man is incredibly strong with these demons. He doesn't hurt anyone else, he just hurts himself. But he can actually rip the chains that they bind him with off of him. And so he sees Jesus and he ran and bowed down before him. And it's very important to remember that in many ways, this man running out, this man bowing down, is a man who is saying to Jesus, "I know who you are. Don't hurt me." It's an acknowledgement that the demons know who Jesus is, an acknowledgement that they know his power. And that's what comes next out of the demon's mouth. "Don't torment me." So Jesus asks his name. And it's very important because to know someone's name in the Bible is to have a level of power over them. And whenever something important happens in the Bible, people's names are changed. Abram to Abraham, Sarai to Sarah. When there's the wrestling at Peniel all night, Jacob wants to know the name of the man he struggled with. So when you know someone's name, you have a power over them. And so the demon responds, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And again, in that name, Legion, there's also an underlying piece that's going on because the Roman army that's occupying the countryside at this time, they're stationed together in legions. So it's kind of a bit of the unclean. It's a bit of a poke at the Roman army. It's a way again of kind of going after the government. And so what ends up happening is Jesus sends the demons into the swine because the demon didn't want to just get sent into the countryside. He wanted to go somewhere. They wanted to go somewhere. And they get sent into the swine, which end up running into the sea. So the unclean ends up dying and getting sent out in the midst of the unclean. Interesting stuff. I hope you join me another time for 5 Minutes with Mark. Thanks.